What's up, y'all? I got a brand new lick of the day for you guys. I call this one the CORY Henry lick, and it's a little bit difficult, but I'm going to give it a shot. Here we go. Alright, so we're in the key of G. Okay, so there's our root note. And at the very end of this progression, in the video I got this from, CORY is kind of using this lick to transition to a C7 chord. So the chords sound like this. Alright, so here's the lick one more time. I'm going to play a nice little chord in the bottom so you can hear the context. And there we go. So this lick sounds fairly complicated, and that's because it is, but I'm going to try to simplify it as best as I can, and we're going to split it into kind of three main sections. So the first little section here is just the typical little G minor blues kind of riff. It's just going straight down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so you can practice that backwards and forwards. Now we have a cool little turnaround here. So we're jumping back up to the C, B flat, B. And again, practice that backwards and forwards. All right. So now we get to kind of an interesting little twist that sort of signifies CORY Henry's style. In my opinion, this is what kind of makes CORY's soloing technique more unique than most guys that just play bebop scales up and down the keyboard all day. CORY likes to use a lot of these big octave jumps. So check this out. A second ago we were down here in this lower G, and like 2 nanoseconds, now we're up in the higher octave G. So you're going to see this one more time later in the lick, but we'll get there. So here we go. After the octave, we're going to jump right back down again. So keep in mind this G, real quick. So you have to be able to get up there, but then rapidly right back down again. So back down to the B flat. Now I watched very carefully to check out CORY's fingering, and it seems like he's actually using a 3 finger down there on that B flat, which I can just barely reach it. It's actually a little bit of a strain for me, but my little trick for that is just use 2 instead, so you get about an inch of extra leeway there. So now, unfortunately, by using the 2, it causes you to put an extra crossing in, which can slow you down, but if you just 2-1-2, you can get it pretty quick. 2-1-2. But if you have big hands, like our friend Mr. Henry, 3-2-1, and you don't even have to cross. So, but anyway, after the cross, so we have this so far. Now, we're going to do a little fancy move here. And again, this is easier if you're on a thumb by this point, but if you're on a 2, not too much of a change. We're going to swap over to the 4 there. After the 4, pretty easy stuff coming next. 4, 3, 2, 1. Anytime there's a B flat, it tends to want to slide back up to the B. And this is very reminiscent of old school like blues sounds, when the old Delta blues men, they would sing these beautiful melodies, but some of the notes would sound sort of out of tune to the common folk because they weren't used to hearing the blues. And so you'd hear this that sort of in-between note between B flat and B, which unfortunately we don't have on the keyboard, but I digress. The B flats generally want to go to B at some point. So where do we leave off? Right back in the pentatonic. So let's recap so far. We should have about a full bar of lick by now. And that's the first 16 notes. So here's where I would put a little stop sign. If this is giving you some trouble already, stop the video here and practice everything that came up to this point. And again, go backwards, forwards, legato, staccato, put a swing rhythm on it. That sounds like this. Reverse the swing, so instead of long, short, long, short, long, go short, long, short, long. Okay, so we have that much. Now we're ready to proceed. The second main part of this is kind of an arpeggio. Now, this is another thing I've noticed in a ton of Cory Henry's solos, is his ability to take these arpeggios that they're definitely arpeggios, but he has a little secret that he throws in there to make it not sound like a boring, like a regular type of arpeggio. Okay, there's our next 16. So here's the simple version of this arpeggio. Okay, it's just F major 7, right? What is the weird thing about this in Cory's lick? Did you hear it? Did you catch it? Well, I'm about to spoil it for you right now. So what he's doing is he's mixing in a couple of half steps and whole steps, just sprinkling them in there into the arpeggio to make it sound more like a scale instead of an arpeggio. And like certain scales will have this kind of movement in it, like the augmented scale, for instance. By the way, if you're confused about the F major 7 inversions, I did a video all about inversions, which you can check out right up here. So back to the lick. What's up with these crazy half steps that are getting thrown in here? And this was probably the most challenging part of the lick for me. Here's our half steps. We're going, first off, the F sharp is not in the F major 7. This little turn, and a classical kind of move. And then again, A flat A. A flat not in the F major 7. So A flat A. Right here, this is all regular old F major 7, and then E flat. And then right back to the E again. And last but not least, back to the A sharp, and once we get to the B, now we're kind of back in G major again. So what is the point of this whole little, right? Why do we need all of these half steps and this F major? I thought we were in G minor, right? So what are we doing with the F? So this is just kind of a chord that's, it's very closely related, at least distance-wise, to the G minor chord. So what we can do is we can kind of outline the F major 7 and use it to add a little variety into our G minor soloing. So for instance, you know, you could do any kind of G minor scale. So do you hear the F major chord in there? It still kind of matches with G minor. So that's the point. It adds a little bit of variety, a little bit of extra color, especially this E here, which is not traditionally in the key of G minor. So let's recap of what we have so far. We got our blues, octave jump, pentatonic again, half step, F major, half step, F major, half step, F major, And now we're back in G again. And again, the bluesy little delta technique here. Take your B flat and your B and sort of blur the lines between that major and that minor third there. So that's what's happening in this little section. Here we go again. What's coming up next? Another wacky octave jump out of nowhere that just Corey Henry always just does these effortlessly. So, all right, and we're up to the top of the G, and this is bringing us to the very final section of this lick, which is kind of the easy part. But anyway, from the arpeggio, here's our final section, octave, and it's all just G major, pentatonic coming down. You can finger this in a couple of different ways. You could use 5, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, and have a bunch of crossings in there. I personally like to take a little nod to Oscar Peterson here and actually do this as a 5-finger pattern. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to do a real quick shift from our thumb over to the pinky on that very next key. So it kind of looks like this. But if you get control of it, you can make it look really smooth. And instead of just getting 2 or 3 notes per crossing, you can get all 5 of those and then cross in all 5 of those. So I'm going to play the lick and split it into sections for you one more time. Section 2. Section 3. And then you can add whichever kind of happy chord you want to do at the end to resolve it. You could go, you could do that, you can something like this. Alright, there's a bunch of different stuff you can actually do with this lick. But now we're going to take a look at the staff, just so you can see what this craziness looks like in sheet music. And hopefully you never have to actually sight read something that looks like this. Okay, so here's our beautiful lick in sheet music form. Now the first thing you'll probably notice is these 2 rests at the beginning. This is simply to keep it accurate to the video that I saw, because Corey was playing this along with a shout drum loop, and he just for some reason leaves two beats there. So let's move through it here note by note. There's our B natural, big jump right here to the G, big jump back down to the B flat. Good luck trying to sing a lick like this. There's our pentatonic. Here's our cool little chromatic turnaround. Okay, to the F. Let me move our lick along here. Okay, so right here on this F natural is where the F little wacky arpeggio starts. And you can see right there is the F chord and the sharp. Wacky little half step. Skip, skip. Back to the F. Wacky little half step again. All the way up, F, A, C, just like the one down here. All right, and then we got some more wacky little half steps right at the end there. Let me move it over. And here's our last little bit. Again, look at this big old jump right here. Big octave jump. And some chords at the end that I happily borrowed from Mr. Henry. And just for the sake of the lick, we can resolve it back to the G. All right, so that's the lick. Let me play it up to tempo for y'all. That is the Corey Henry Lick. If you like this lick, leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you want to see all of my future licks. I got a fresh batch coming out very soon. Also, make sure to share this video if you know any other pianists that are maybe sounding a little bit stale, maybe recycling the same old tired licks over and over again, and they just need to, steal a little of this and a little bit of that. Great licks aren't created, they're borrowed. Leave me a comment down below if you have any other great pianists or organists or synthesizer players that you want to see some licks dissected from. And to wrap up this video, I will leave you with a nice little jam session to showcase how you might want to use this lick. So let's do like a nice little chilled out, smooth jazz groove here in G minor. Alright, so if you have any other great uses for this lick, definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know if you found this useful, and I will see you all in the next lick. Peace.